ask you this about going toe to toe. What about us? So many of us killing each other. What do you want? What do you attribute that to? And what are some things that we can do to, to slow that down, the killing of each other?
Black on black fratricide in Canada, black on black fratricide in Europe, black on black fratricide in America, and black on black fratricide in South Africa all have two things in common. Number one, in those four European realities, the black male is the leading cause of death for himself. Number two, in all four of those European realities, the black male suffers from psychological castration, social castration, economic castration. The first thing that is necessary for a man to feel like a man is he must have the ability to exert power over his reality. The definition of manhood implies power, control over my reality. A man's basic responsibility is to provide and protect for his family. Now, protecting your family, that ain't too difficult. Providing for your family can be difficult, especially when you've been educationally castrated, prevented from learning a decent trade or livable wage type of a job or livable wage type of a skill so that you can then earn a decent living. And then you have to deal with economic castration, the fact that half the black men in Detroit are unemployed, half the black men in Philadelphia are unemployed, half the black men in Chicago, L.A., Houston, wherever you go, half the black men in America are unemployed. You cannot separate that from the violence. And that makes psychological violence precedes physical violence. Psychological violence always precedes physical violence, which is to say that a man is first at war with himself before he ever goes to war with you. And there is no more oppressing thing in the world than to not be able to provide for yourself, your woman, or your children. That causes self-esteem issues. That causes self-concept issues. That causes depressive issues. That causes all types of issues. So you got miseducation, economic castration, and then you got self-hate from legacies of slavery and colonialism. So if you want to eliminate black-on-black fratricide, you must address miseducation, which I do. You must address economic castration, which I'm about to do with the ex-offenders program. And then you must address post-traumatic slavery disorder, which I deal with every day as a psychologist. So remember, the mother of all violence is miseducation, and the father of all violence is economic castration. 80 years ago, who were the criminals in America? The Jews, the Italians, the Irish. They broke the law. They sold crack, dope. They killed each other in the streets. Italians killing Italians. Irish killing Irish. Jews killing Jews. Bugsy Siegel, Meyer Lansky, Al Capone, Lucky Luciano. You know the names. And why did they break the law? Because they didn't have an education and they didn't have an economic occupation. So they broke the law. I don't care if you're black, white, purple, orange, or yellow. Whenever the opportunity to earn a decent living is taken away from you, you will resort to crime to feed your family. And in resorting to crime, you will end up fighting against other people who have had to resort to the same crime to feed their family.
So let me just and I agree with a lot of what you said as far as, you're right. I mean, absolutely. When you cannot, I mentor kids. I mentor young boys. I counsel young boys as well. I mean, men as well. I know exactly what you do, and it's important what you do, because I agree with the historical oppression that often plays a role in this. But at the same time, can we agree that everyone who is unemployed, everyone who has been disenfranchised, can't feed or their kids, will not and does not have to resort to violence or a life of crime to do so?
Well, we could also agree that everybody who eats a lot of cholesterol-filled foods will not die from a heart attack. Not every snake is going to bite you. But the human reality is that most people will fall victim to the circumstantial realities under which they live. In fact, there have been studies done to prove this. There was the famous Stanford prison experiment that had to be discontinued, where a white psychologist took people and treated them like criminals in a prison. He took other people. These were all volunteers. None of them had a history of incarceration. He took other people, and they were the officers in the jail. So some of the volunteers were inmates, other volunteers were officers in charge of the inmates. The study had to be discontinued after a couple of days because they found that the officers began to treat the inmates in an inhumane way, and that the inmates being treated like animals began to act like animals. And the conclusion of the Stanford prison experiment, which every black person needs to become familiar with, is that you can never separate behavior from the factors in the immediate environment that give rise to it, and you can never separate behavior from the context in which it takes place. Yes, we can agree that everybody will not break the law, but at the same time, if we are going to say that just because everybody doesn't do it, that nobody is going to do it, that's not basing a decision based on reality. Most people, psychologically, as it has been proven through research, will fall victim to their reality. Our job is not to convince people to not break the law when they don't have a job. Our job is to fight the system so everybody has an equal opportunity to earn a decent living. I will never blame the victim, okay? I work in prison on a regular basis for free, and I'm always trying to motivate them brothers. But guess what? Which is why I'm going to be hosting the Underground Railroad Movement Conference for ex-offenders. And that question that I always get, whether I'm at a jail or a halfway house, is, Dr. Umar, we don't do this because we want to do this. We do this because we have to do this. And I don't want to go back to the street. I don't want to sell no dope. I don't want to steal no more cars. I don't want to hustle no more credit cards. But what opportunity do you have? What job can I get? The truth of the matter is that some of us who have it a little bit more comfortably tend to forget that a lot of our people have no options at all. I have 6 degrees. I've never been to jail. Take from me my degrees. Put a felony on my record. And Dr. Umar Johnson, as much as I can sit here in my privileged position with my 6 degrees, I could sit here and say I would never sell dope. I would never steal a car. I would never commit an armed robbery. But you put me in a situation where my life becomes desperate. You put me in a situation where my family becomes destitute, and I will have to consider doing something that I never in my wildest dreams would ever think I would have to do, and that is break the law. I will not blame the criminal. I will blame the society that produces the criminal. Criminals are not born. Criminals are made. It is the society that is criminal, not the people. Okay. First, we got to realize a couple things. Number one, nobody forces us to listen to the music. Nobody forces us to let our children partake in the music. You have to participate in the criminal justice system because there's no alternative. You have to participate in America's economic reality because there's no alternative. You have to participate in the medical industry because there's no alternative. But there is an alternative to propaganda. There's no law that makes you indulge in Western media and propaganda. So we have to look at the role we play in exposing our children or allowing them to be exposed to that type of filth that comes across the airway. However, when rappers say that they're not responsible for violence, they're totally incorrect. It is true. Gangster rap did not create crime. Gangster rap did not create gangs. Gangster rap did not create the black-on-black fratricide. But gangster rap popularized crime. Gangster rap popularized black-on-black fratricide. Gangster rap popularized drug selling. Popularizing it, you are helping to propagate it. See, we got to realize art plays a very critical role in any culture. Art is influenced by and in turn influences culture. Just like culture is influenced by and influences art. It is a bi-directional relationship. It's like you and your queen. She's going to influence you to an extent, and you're going to influence her because y'all coexist together in the same reality. It's the same thing with the black community and its artists, whether it's dance, music, athletics, whatever they partake in. So for a rapper to say I'm not responsible for violence, they're totally incorrect. You are not responsible for the creation, but you are responsible for the expansion of it because you glamorize it. You have the ability to impact cultural behavior. The artist is very important when it comes to cultural norm and cultural structure. Without question, the artist can help facilitate transformation of culture. So there's no such thing as an artist not being responsible for the impact that his music has. But let me say this. The only reason why Lil Wayne is a role model, only reason why Drake is a role model, only reason why any of these artists are role models, and I don't single any of them out because I deal with our problems systematically. It's not about individuals. It's about systems. We have a system in place that allows our rappers to create this type of filthy music with no community accountability. So it's the system that I'm trying to change. So like it's the system that gave rise to a Barack Obama. Dealing with Barack Obama as the individual means nothing. There'll be 24 more Barack Obamas. He's just the first one, and the next ones will be worse than him. So we got to change systems, not individuals. You can switch out the president all you want, but if the institution that the president oversees has an agenda to exterminate black people, it doesn't matter who the president is. Now, with that being said, we also have a system in the community that leaves black boys in the hood without any viable, responsible role models in black males. Many black men, when they get their education, they move out of the neighborhood. They abandon the hood. That's the problem. Our young men don't have role models they can turn to. If a brother had a doctor if he had a dentist next door, if he had a business owner next door, even if he had a plumber or an electrician or a carpenter who taught him their trade, who took him with them on different business runs to where that young man could learn the trade, Lil Wayne couldn't influence that man. Lil Wayne could not influence him more than me or more than you because he has time with us. A boy needs time. He wants that father figure. He wants that mentor. And if he has that, Lil Wayne has no chance against a living, breathing, in-your-face role model. The only reason why Jeezy and Lil Wayne are role models is because the black men in the hood abandoned it. And when there's no other role models to find, you find them on the TV and the radio.
Yeah, man, you 100% right. I personally grew up with a great father, a great grandfather, uncle, you know what I mean, just tons of positive role models. And I speak on this all the time. Everything you said, I 100% agree with. We need more black role models, positive, heterosexual, strong black men to say, you know, I am your role model. I will accept that. I won't run from that title. I will embrace that role and show you that you don't have to. Jay-Z is nobody. Lil Wayne is nobody. And you're right. The system has been put in place to elevate these quote-unquote role models in positions of power and influence, and it's systematically destroying the youth, and only we can change that. Now, you mentioned President Obama, which a lot of things you said, I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm alone, man. Like, I feel like people have been brainwashed by this guy. I mean, what are your thoughts on Obama as far as the role he specifically has? Because I agree with you. You know, there will be tons of Obamas coming. I absolutely agree. But specifically him, though, you know, what role has he played in, or lack thereof, of combating police brutality, of combating gang violence, or, you know, the agenda at place?
President Obama is not responsible for doing anything significant to impact the black reality in the 8 years that he's been in office. Absolutely nothing. Any black person who tells you that Obama did stuff for black people is suffering from the illusion of inclusion. In other words, they will look at Obamacare and say he gave us Obamacare. But Obamacare wasn't for black people. It was for all people. And then they will say that Obama has to be president for the United States of America, not just black America. However, Obama did things just for gay people. He passed 3 major pieces of federal law legislation just for gay people. Everybody in America is not gay, but Obama did stuff just for the gay people. Everybody in America is not an illegal immigrant, but Obama did stuff just for illegal immigrants. Everybody in America is not Latino, but Obama did stuff just for Latino. Everybody's not a white woman, but Obama did stuff just for white women. It's only when black people ask, when is the president going to do something for us, he has to be president for everybody. But other than that, it's okay for him to be president for gays. It's okay for him to be president for Latinos. It's okay for him to be president for white women. It's okay for him to be president for illegal immigrants. But when it's time for him to be president for black people, he has to be president for everybody. I am not a fan of Obama. I'm not a fan of any Negro facing high place, because when you study the rise of the black politician, you will see that it has existed parallel to the demise of the conditions of black people. You will also understand and find out as well that black people are in love with Obama, not because he did anything, but because he got accepted by white people. So you got to understand something. Black people, most of us, our pursuit of happiness is the pursuit of integration. Our pursuit of integration is the pursuit of acceptance by white people. Black people want to be accepted by white people. That's why we move into their neighborhoods. That's why we marry their daughters. That's why our black scholars teach at white universities, but they so proud to be black. You see, so we are in love with white folks, and we want to be accepted. And Obama is such a hero to black people, not because he did shit. Obama is a hero because white people made him president. Do you know how important that is for somebody who wants to be accepted by white people? For a black man to be made president of the United States, that is the ultimate acceptance. That is the ultimate approval. So Obama will always be popular for black people because he achieved what black people never thought he could, and that is to be accepted by white people to be their president.
Yeah, man, it's very unfortunate, and I'll be quite honest with you, man. I mean, aside from myself, I personally can't think of anyone, because everything you just said, I say literally 7 nights a week here on this particular show, and can't think of another black person that shares those views about Obama, and we've been brainwashed for the exact reason that that's one of many reasons why we've been brainwashed.
They're dealing with emotionalism. Obama is a religion for all intents and purposes, and just like with a religion, people don't want to deal with religion intellectually. You don't go to the Muslim and say, hey, I'm just wondering, but I heard that, the Quran was passed down by word of mouth for a couple of decades before it was ever written down. Is that possible that it could actually have affected the authenticity of the book since it was passed down by word of mouth, and given the fact that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not a literate man, he had to rely on other people to record the Quran? Is it possible that, they could have manipulated the document and made it say things that it didn't say because there was no way for him to know since he was not a learned man? Now, intellectually, that's plausible. Emotionally, it's not. You can't go to the Christians and say, well, these Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, that there was, about 200 different manuscripts, and that these manuscripts were ultimately blended all into one on a political order that had nothing to do with religion. Is it possible that Mark never said some of the stuff in his Gospel? Did you know that there were Gospels in the Bible that were taken out? There was over 200 Gospels. Now we only got 4, and some of those Gospels said that Jesus was born of a human father and not through immaculate conception, that he had a wife and children. Is it intellectually, it's possible because you can review those other Gospels. Emotionally, it's not, and that's the problem with Obama. Black people don't deal with the Obama reality intellectually; they deal with it emotionally. And the reason they deal with it emotionally is, for many of them, it would hurt. It would hurt them too much to do a critical analysis of the Obama presidency and find out that everything that they believed in as related to this man was a total farce. It's no different than religion. Most people don't want to discuss religion because they don't want to be questioned about it. They don't want their faith challenged. People don't want their faith in Obama challenged.
Yeah, for many people, it's unfortunate because I'm talking about even people in the church are afraid to embrace their own spirituality because it would force them to. It would be a conflict between their support of Obama. You have ministers, you have pastors, reverends, deacons, evangelists who will support someone who 100% contradicts the foundation of their spiritual beliefs, but they will still support him and his whole thing because it allows them to continue this fantasy of acceptance into, as you said, into the white man's home. It's that slave mentality in many cases.